It was an ordinary day in the quiet African village where 12-year-old Shehu lived. Though she felt an unusual energy in the air that day, as she wandered near the old abandoned tree at the backyard of their house, she noticed something shiny half buried in the dirt. Curiosity gripped her, and with her small hands, she dug it out. What she uncovered was a beautifully crafted amulet, its edges adorned with intricate symbols that seemed to pulse with a strange aerial glow. Shehu's heart raced. She had never seen anything like this before. It was heavy yet delicate, as though it held the weight of the world in its core. With the amulet in hand, Shehu felt an odd warmth spread through her chest, like something awakening inside her. Little did she know this amulet would soon change everything. She felt the urge to wear the amulet. Immediately she put it on, the amulet disappeared into her body, but as a child, she couldn't understand what had happened. Over the few days, Shehu began to experience strange changes. At first, it was small, unexplainable bursts of energy that she couldn't control. When she was near animals, they would act unusually calm around her, even wild ones. She could hear the whispers of the trees in the forest close to the house, and sometimes she felt a sudden urge to go to places without knowing why. The amulet seemed to be connected to these odd occurrences. As Shehu explored her new abilities, she couldn't help but feel a sense of both excitement and fear. The village was growing uneasy, especially her parents. They had noticed that their daughter was becoming distant, withdrawn, and the spark of joy in her eyes seemed to fade. Her mom was worried about her behavior. She called her one night to have a heart-to-heart talk. She tried to make her open up to know what is wrong with her, but she claimed to be fine. So her mom prayed for her and dismissed her. Shehu felt the weight of the secret she carried. She couldn't keep it to herself any longer, so she decided to confide in her closest friends, Amina and Tunde. The three of them had always been inseparable, sharing everything from childhood memories to deep secrets. One evening after the sun had set, Shehu took them to the spot where she had found the amulet. She told them everything: how the amulet glowed, how it disappeared immediately she wore it, how it made her feel different, and how her powers were growing stronger each day. Amina's eyes widened with fear, while Tunde looked skeptical. However, both of them knew something wasn't right. They had heard stories from their parents about people who used dark magic for evil purposes. The friends agreed that they needed to tell Shehu's parents, even if it meant risking their safety. The next day, Shehu's parents noticed a change in their daughter. She had become more restless, more agitated. Her mom, Mama Shade, being an observant and caring mother, was so worried about her daughter's behavior. She prepared her best meal for her. After she was done eating her food and satisfied, her mom asked her what was wrong. Shehu hesitated at first, but then opened up and told her everything. "Mama, I found something in the forest at the backyard," Shehu began. "It is an amulet. I think it is causing me to change." Mama Chade's face turned pale as she listened, and she told her everything that happened, how the amulet disappeared as she wore it. Her father, Papa Deji, who had joined them, immediately became concerned. He knew of old rituals, stories that had been passed down through generations of the village. Some of these tales spoke of artifacts that could alter destinies and change the course of lives. But there was one tale that haunted him the most, a tale of a dark ritualist who would use children to fulfill evil purposes. The parents, both terrified and desperate, agreed that they had to take immediate action. Shehu's well-being was their top priority. They decided to take her to the church, where the village priest could pray over her and seek deliverance. The church had always been a place of safety, where many turned for help when they felt lost or under attack by unseen forces. The church was a small, humble building at the center of the village. As Shehu entered with her parents, the air felt heavy, as if the walls themselves held centuries of prayers. Father Joseph, the priest, was a kind-hearted man with a deep understanding of spiritual matters. When he saw Shehu, he immediately recognized something unusual about her. The glow of the amulet was still faint, but visible around her neck. Father Joseph's eyes narrowed in suspicion. This child, a mortal, is under the influence of something dark. He asked Shehu to sit in the center of the church, surrounded by candles and incense. With the congregation gathered, Father Joseph began to pray in a language unfamiliar to Shehu. The air grew thick with tension, and Shehu could feel a strange pull at her chest, as if the amulet was resisting. Her heart pounded in her ears, and the world seemed to spin. As the priest chanted louder, the amulet became visible and began to vibrate, its power struggling against the prayers. Finally, with a sharp cry, the amulet was torn from her neck, glowing brightly before fading to a dull, lifeless stone. Shehu collapsed in relief, feeling the strange energy leave her body. Father Joseph wiped his brow and gave a deep sigh. The amulet was no ordinary trinket, he said softly. It was an instrument of dark magic. The next day, as Shehu and her family processed the events that had unfolded, something even more chilling came to light. Shehu's uncle, a man she had always adored and looked up to, had been acting strangely lately. His visits had become more frequent, and his interactions with her had always been just a bit too intense. Father Joseph had sensed the presence of dark magic tied to the amulet, and when he performed a spiritual search on the village, he uncovered a horrifying truth. Shehu's uncle, Uncle Bayo, was a ritualist involved in ancient practices that sought to steal the destinies of children to gain supernatural power. The priest told Sheu's father that his brother was the man that buried the amulet at the backyard of their house. He had invoked the spirit of Sheu to find the amulet and to wear it, so he could take hold of her destiny and destroy her in future. Papa Musa, furious and heartbroken, confronted his brother to know if the priest was lying. At first, he denied it, but after much confrontation, Uncle Bayo, a dark brown-skinned and imposing figure, who stood coldly in the center of the room, his eyes betraying nothing of the horror he had orchestrated. He admitted to everything, his voice cold and calculated. The amulet was just the beginning, he confessed. I had planned to use Shehu to complete my ritual. I have been taking children's future for years, using their souls to gain power. As the truth unraveled, Sheu's parents were left in shock. They had trusted Uncle Bayo, never suspecting that the man who had always been so kind to them could harbor such darkness. It was then that Father Joseph revealed more. The amulet was used in rituals that allowed the ritualists to steal a child's future and trap their spirits, condemning them to live without purpose. Shehu had been close to becoming a victim of this heinous practice, but now, with the amulet destroyed, her life could be saved. The entire village was stunned by the revelation, and many came forward recounting their own stories of strange occurrences linked to the uncle. The truth about Uncle Bayo's dark deeds had come to light, and the village was in shock. He had betrayed the trust of his own family, using the sacred bond of kinship to carry out his evil rituals. The community gathered in the village square, where the elders, led by Father Joseph, prepared to confront the man who had nearly destroyed Sheu's future. Uncle Bayo stood in the center of the square, his large frame imposing yet strangely calm, as if he had known this moment would come. The village was tensed with anticipation, but Sheu's heart pounded as she looked at the man who had once been a figure of warmth and safety. She couldn't understand how he could have done something so terrible. Papa Musa, his face a mix of anger and sorrow, stepped forward. Bayo, you betrayed us. You betrayed your own blood. How could you do this to your own niece? His voice trembled with emotion, but it was clear that years of trust had been shattered beyond repair. Uncle Bayo met his brother's gaze with cold, unwavering eyes. You never understood, Musa. You were always too simple, too naive. I was searching for something greater, something beyond what this world can give. His words were calm, yet there was a hint of madness in them. The power of amulets, the power to take destinies, to become something more than just a man, was my true calling. And Shehu was meant to be the key to unlock more. Father Joseph stepped forward, holding his Bible high. No one can steal another's destiny, he said firmly. No one can play God with the lives of others. especially children. You have crossed a line that cannot be forgiven." The crowd was silent as the full weight of Uncle Bayo's crimes became clear. The village elders, along with Father Joseph, had made it clear that Uncle Bayo's actions were not just a betrayal of family, but an offense against the entire village. They had learned of the many children who had gone missing over the years, their destinies stolen for dark rituals. Sheu's case was not an isolated one. Her uncle had been a quiet predator, hiding behind the guise of a loving family member, while secretly destroying the futures of children for his own gain. The village had always been a place where family was sacred, where elders protected the younger generation, and where trust was everything. Now, the community was united in their judgment of Uncle Bayo. The elders decided that justice must be served, but in a way that would send a clear message to anyone who thought they could break the laws of nature and the bonds of family for power. Uncle Bayo was stripped of his position in the village, and the elders ordered him to leave. He was exiled, cast out of the community that had once accepted him. But that wasn't all. The village had its own way of dealing with those who practiced dark magic, ways that were rooted in ancient traditions handed down by their ancestors to protect their people from evil. The next morning, Uncle Bayo was escorted out of the village by the elders. They led him to the outskirts of the forest, a place where the spirits of the land were said to dwell, a place where no one could return once they had been cast out. Sheu stood at the edge of the village, watching in silence as her uncle was led away. Her heart was heavy, not with sympathy, but with a strange sense of relief. She had been the intended victim, but now the nightmare was over. As Uncle Bayo walked away, he turned to look back at the village one last time. His expression was unreadable, a mix of fury and regret. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. The air around him seemed to grow heavier, as if the land itself was rejecting him. With one final glance, he disappeared into the forest, never to be seen again. The villagers gathered together to pray for the healing of their land and their people. Father Joseph led the prayers, calling upon the Spirit of the Almighty God to protect them and guide them away from dark forces. The community had been shaken, but they were strong. They had faced darkness together and emerged victoriously. In the weeks that followed, life slowly began to return to normal in the village. Sheu's parents worked tirelessly to help their daughter heal from the trauma she had experienced. Sheu herself felt a deep sense of relief, though it was mixed with sadness. The man she had once trusted, the man who had been like a second father to her, was gone. She could never forget what he had tried to do to her, but she knew she had to move forward. Her friends, Amina and Tunde, visited her regularly, offering comfort and support. The three of them would sit by the river and talk about the good memories they had shared, about the things that made them laugh, and the things that made them feel safe. Shehu had learned an important lesson through everything she had gone through. Trust was precious, but it had to be earned. And while family was meant to be a source of love and protection, sometimes it could also be the source of the deepest betrayal. Shewu's parents took extra care to ensure that she would never again be exposed to such evil. They taught her to be vigilant, to trust her instincts, and to always seek help when something felt wrong. The amulet, once a symbol of fear and danger, was destroyed, and its pieces were scattered into the rivers, where they would be lost forever. One evening, as the sun began to set, Father Joseph called a gathering of all the parents in the village. He had one last message to share, a warning to everyone. We must always be vigilant, he said. The world is filled with people who will use power for evil, and sometimes they will hide behind familiar faces. As parents, it is our responsibility to protect our children. Do not ignore the signs of darkness. Trust your instincts. Do not let anyone, no matter how close they are, take advantage of your trust. The parents nodded in agreement, and Shewu's heart swelled with gratitude. She knew her family would always be there to protect her. Her parents were her shield, and no one would ever take her future again. Shewu's life began anew, free from the shadow of the amulet and the haunting memories of her uncle. She focused on her studies, helping her parents with the farm and spending time with her friends. The village had recovered from the trauma, and there was peace once again. But Shehu would never forget the lesson she had learned. She would always be vigilant, always aware that not everyone who claimed to love you had your best interests at heart. The darkness she had faced would never return, not if she could help it. As the village continued to grow stronger, so did Shehu. She had survived the worst, and she knew she was ready for whatever life would throw her way next. With her family's love and her friends' support, she felt invincible. And as she looked up at the clear, starry sky, Shehu knew that her destiny was her own once again. And this is the end. Thanks for watching. I believe you enjoyed the story. Kindly like, subscribe, and share for more interesting stories. Thank you. Bye.